Hey, I'm Nathan Fouts. I'm the designer and director and the writer of ChainStaff.
And can you kind of just give us the top line of what is ChainStaff? What are we looking at with this game?
ChainStaff is an action platformer with the special hook being you have a transforming grappling hook. So it's a run and gun, lots of platforming, and you got a grappling hook that can do all kinds of things. But we don't hold your hand. We tell you how it works, and then you get to figure it out in the level.
Seeing some of the gameplay in action, like it really does seem a little bit versatile because I saw it used as a weapon. I saw it used to grapple around and swing. I also saw it used to like set up a pole to like keep a large alien structure from like crushing you as you go under it. How fun was it to just like decide what can this thing do? How can you use it? What can it be used for, like defensively, mobility, or offensive wise?
It was an absolute blast. One of my oldest friends, he was just like, "Oh man, what's going to be your next game?" I was like, "Oh, well, I mean, with Mommy's Best Games, I always try to pick an action game and put a really creative twist on it. I try as hard as possible to do that. So we did that in Piggy Ball. We with the eating in the bar thing, kind of like Pac-Man but different. And we did that in Shoot One Up. You played multiple ships, but all at once. So he's just like, "Dude, you should do a run and gun, but with a grappling hook for real." And it's like, okay, yeah. I love it. I love it. Like Bionic Commando, I love it. Earthworm Jim, let's do it. But it's just like, it's got to be bigger than that. What are we gonna do? You know what I mean? And so the hardest part for the chain staff itself was trying to make it feel like organic, but when you use a power, to feel like the power is specific enough that it wasn't just, oh, it just always is kind of a thing and you just always kind of do the thing. So trying to create interesting situations where it's like, oh, this is definitely a platform situation. I should use it like a platform. And then another spot where it's like, oh, it's the platform's different than raising things, than jacking things up. So it's always on your mind, and you're always kind of trying to think of like, how do I use it a little bit differently? So coming at it from the other direction with design, it was tough but really rewarding to try to create the weirdest monsters that would let you think of ways to use it as a player.
And that is something that I saw that I was just enthused with right away. Your creature designs for enemies and like structures in this game, they are gross and awesome. And like how like compared to some of the other games too, like you've stuck to sort of like an arcade aesthetic in some of the older games. And this is just, it's got that vibe of like Contra Alien Wars, like Gorefest, the Bionic Commando, like later parts of that game. And like, what would you say was like the craziest thing that you came up with when you were designing creatures and monsters and stuff in this game?
One of the earlier ones, I'll get there, but one of the earlier ones is like, okay, your dude can wield a super spear. It's the biggest javelin, and and he's ultra strong because of this alien parasite thing that we'll get into. But he's got this super spear, this javelin. It's like there's got to be a balloon monster. Okay, there's got to be a balloon monster. You know what I mean? So balloon monster is like, well, we want to make him kind of cool and scary. And again, at the time, my son had a bearded dragon. Just like, oh, what if it's like a little dragon thing that inflates, but he also blows up his tail? And so, like every creature that I do, I try to make sure you're surprised by it in somehow. Even the most basic enemy is called the flip bug, and he's this nasty-looking centipede walking thing with a huge hook on his tail. You shoot him like twice. He flies back, you think it's dead, but then his tail rears up high, and now he comes back at you for one more hit. So he only takes a couple hits, but every creature changes. So currently unveiled, the current most insane creature is what I'm just calling the organ boss. He's the level 3 boss. Level 3 is called Frozen Remains. So there's a lot of cool stuff in it. But hopefully this will give away stuff, but hopefully people will still be freaked out and disgusted by it. You drop into this freaky ice cave, and there's this sentient, quiet, dormant, giant egg filled with organs. Like you just don't even know what it is. And it's a thing hanging by the ceiling. And I won't spoil it all, but basically, I just knew when I did the design, I was like, you got a grappling hook. What if you have to hang from the creature? Sure. Like, that's happened before. You climb on creatures, Shadow of the Colossus. But I was like, no, what's the most disgusting thing ever? And it's like, what if you hang from a creature and you pull his organs out of his butt? We're doing that. So that's gotta be the grossest thing of the game. I mean, like so far, I'm working on it. I'm trying to make sure other things are more insane. But and this is all like 90s gore nonsense, right? That's what my kind of aesthetic is. It's gross, it's stupid, but it's like buckets of blood and ketchup. It's not like you're not gonna be scarred for life. You know what I mean? If you see it, it's just like the dumbest thing you've ever seen, but like awesome. That's the hope.
There's a story here too. Like it is kind of that schlocky vibe as well, where like this is like a soldier that got basically attacked and fused with a parasitic creature, which forms basically the powers of the ChainStaff. And so like the military, whoever they are using him as like, we have this great thing here. We're going to use it as a weapon against everything that threatens Earth. And how fun was it to like write the story that goes along with just like this ridiculous, brutal action?
It was awesome. And it's funny, I don't know if we can edit it. At the beginning, I said writer. I guess I meant designer of the game. My old friend AJ Johnson is actually the dialogue writer for the game. I came up with the story and the structure of the story, but he writes the dialogue and he's really good at it. So that's all on him. But we keep bouncing back and forth, having fun, coming up with the concept of it. But I think like a lot of classic but schlocky stories, there's heart to it. And he came up with a good triangle. It's awesome. Like you basically got yourself, your Sergeant Jesse Varlet, and so Varl is your nickname in this game because it sounds kind of alien and cool, but you're Jesse Varlet. Your sister is the doctor, and she's trying to save your life. So there's some real heart to it in that much. Captain Knox, yes, Fort Knox. Captain Knox, he's trying to save the world, and he's 100% using you like a pawn. Like he's just using you like a military director. So he has that, good direction to it to save the world, but it's not looking good for you. Like he's just using you because you're a super soldier now. And so your sister is trying to save your life, and the captain's trying to use you against, whatever's coming, and you're kind of caught in the middle.
For those who have kind of followed along with your games over the years, what do you hope for players and fans that have stuck with your games to like get out of ChainStaff that they may not have gotten out of your previous works?
I hope that they can enjoy a more like a maturation of my ability and skill as a designer. It's like the culmination of everything I've been working on so far, and I try to make every game like that better than the last and not a repeat. Just add something new to it. I think this is the best art I've ever done in my games, like the visual aesthetic and the design. And so, yeah, I think compared to my others, I try to make sure they're always still worth going back to and they hold up on their own. But I'd say this is probably my most polished game, and I'm loving it.
And where can people find out more about ChainStaff?
We've got a website called ChainStaffGame.com. And if they are even casually interested in the game, if they wish list the game on Steam, that is a huge boost to me, my game, my art, and it'll help us get recognized by Valve going forward. So if they wish list it on Steam, they'll get more info as well. They can also sign up for the Miami's Best Games mailing list. And I talk about the progress of the game, process, little secrets, and little contests and stuff like that.
For right now, you got it on Steam. Are there any plans to go to further platforms after the Steam launch?
Yes.